What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 322 of Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie, and normally we would be in the war room. However, we are not. We are going to label episode 322 the Dead Things episode because, well, all good plans seem to find a way to get screwed up. So if you are new to Cocktails in the War Room, first of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name's Mistress Carrie. I have been a radio host and podcast host for decades now. And normally, as we started back on March 14th of 2020, we get together and we're in the war room, which is the room in my house that has all of my military memorabilia from my family's years of service and also all of the things I brought back from my trips overseas. And it's where the bar is, which is why we started getting together there at the very beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic when my beloved WAAF went off the air. 322 episodes later, because we did 80 episodes through the pandemic every night. And then when we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast, which is now 271 episodes in, we turned Cocktails in the War Room into a weekly show. Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern. Originally, it streamed on Facebook, then it streamed on Facebook and Instagram, then YouTube, then Twitch, and now we're in all of those places. So normally, we would be in the war room tonight. However, we are actually in MCHQ, which is my radio and podcast studio, because, well, if you didn't know, there's normally co-hosts on the couch with me, my pugs, Wednesday and Friday, that you can find on Instagram at Wednesday the Goth Pug. And one of the things that I have to do before the show every week is take them outside and kind of run them around a little bit to get them to go to the bathroom, to run their energy out, because I spend a lot of time in MCHQ and sometimes the dogs are allowed in here while I'm working and sometimes they're not. Well, the pugs were on retractable leashes. And as we were running around in the backyard, the pugs encountered a dead thing. Now, I'm fairly certain it was like a squirrel or maybe a chipmunk. Could have been any number of culprits. Could have been a bird of prey. Could have been the neighborhood barn cat that kind of roams around and keeps the local chipmunk population at bay. I don't know how this thing met its maker, but I can tell you that the pugs found it. And then the pugs wanted to play with it. And then they started to try and play tug of war with it. And then I needed to get involved to separate said dead thing. And in that process, I didn't have surgical gloves with me. I was not wearing a hazmat suit, if it were. And I came in contact with the dead thing. So let's just say that we are not in the war room tonight because I just took the most sterilizing shower. My hair is literally still wet because I wanted to get the show up on time as close as possible. But I am blaming this catastrophe of a show on the dead thing that I had to wrestle away from said dogs, that I then needed to clean them as well, because we were all involved in the juices of whatever it was that we encountered. So I apologize for the show going up a few minutes late. I apologize for the show not being in the war room tonight, but that's why. So it's been a few weeks. I'm back from Rome, back from my vacation. Got to say what's up to Jonathan and Brett, Michelle and Dina, Donna and Mr. Voorhees, Alexis, Ash, Mr. Cole, Eric and Bish, Carol, Kim is here, Sherry. Jessica says, where's Wednesday and Friday? Oh, now you know. They're exiled upstairs. Nobody's been a podcast host for decades, I don't think. Radio host for decades. Podcast host, yeah, I think podcasts have been around for more than a decade now. I haven't. The Mistress Carrie podcast has been around for 5.5 years, but then I had the Mistress Carrie side piece when I was on the air at WAF for a few years after that. So I'm pushing close to a decade as a podcast host, but podcasts have been around. Brett says, not in the war room. Now you know why. Let's see. Denise says, hello, Carrie and family. So that's why the dogs aren't here. That's why we're not in the war room. Sherry says blueberry cobbler. Yeah, something like that. Absolutely. Where the dead things are. Exactly. Let's see. Definitely kill a few chipmunks while mowing my lawn, says Bish. Divorce with friends, says still gorgeous on Instagram. Thank you very much. Frank says, how was Italy? Pictures are great. I got some pictures for you. I met with the backstage pass holders last night and bored them with trip details from Italy. I put up a lot of pictures on Facebook. I picked out some greatest hits that I'm going to show you guys tonight, but I'll be more than happy in the coming weeks once we kind of get back to normal with Cocktails in the War Room to be able to answer your questions. Not the juice we want, says Jonathan. Did they shower with you, says Donna? No, the dogs ended up in the kitchen sink. I ended up in the shower, and yeah, it just... brutal. Betty says, boy, it was hard for me to get here. Betty, we're glad you're here. Rachel says, hi on Facebook. Last week, my pit bull coonhound mix ate a chipmunk. The bitch give 5 tons of kisses. I didn't know what she ate till the next day after about 40 kisses for me, says Eric. Exactly. Hello from Felicia on Instagram. Let's see. Is Mr. C babysitting? No, the dogs are upstairs taking a nap. Still jet lagged, Bish wants to know. Actually, surprisingly not. No. I think because I'm such a night owl, Italy is 6 hours ahead. I think because I'm such a night owl and the hours I usually keep here at home, I actually adjusted pretty well to the early day schedule that we had in Rome. There were a few days where we got up really early to go on tours that started at 8 o'clock. So we had to get up, shower, have breakfast, get in a cab, ride 25, 30 minutes across Rome in traffic to get to a place at, say, 7:45. So I actually, other than the first day where I napped for a few hours, was pretty good with the jet lag over there. What killed me in Rome was the really hot temperatures. It was 90 plus degrees every day. You're walking around in the sun, no shade in the Colosseum, at the Vatican, whatever. And so coming back, the jet lag really wasn't that bad, so I feel pretty good. What's up, Doug Dave Breen Green on Instagram? Nice to see you. Patrick wants to know, did I make it to Ozzy's last concert? No, actually, that happened before I left for Rome, so no, sadly, I did not get to go, but I did watch the stream, all 10 plus hours of it. Rachel says, you didn't bore us last night. I was vicariously living through your pictures. The pictures from Rome were absolutely beautiful, says Jessica. Loved hearing about all of it, says Donna. Thank you, guys. Another afternoon, Pearl brought a dead squirrel into the house and dropped it at Tim's feet, says Melissa. Yeah, the dead things, I can't handle the dead thing. So I apologize that we're not in the War Room tonight. I do want to let people know that are new to the War Room that tonight I'm going to give you a chance to win tickets to see VOLBEAT and HALESTORM this Thursday night at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield. And one lucky ticket winner is going to make their way into the VIP to meet HALESTORM before the show. So that giveaway is coming up. I want to make sure you guys stick around for that. Eric says, hot in Italy. Could one say sweating like a whore in church? Eric, what's funny is that my mom used to say that all the time. That's a mom phrase. And yeah, it was really hot. And a lot of those big churches, basilicas, first of all, they were not air conditioned. And second of all, I was there in the middle of the Youth Jubilee. So the Jubilee is happening in Rome right now for Catholics. And the Youth Jubilee was literally the week I was there. And there were 1 million high school and college age youth groups that were in Rome for the Youth Jubilee the week I was there. So the crowds, the lines, thankfully, I listened to people's advice when they told me to book the tours in advance and book them really early in the morning. Not only to avoid the really cold temperatures, or the really hot temperatures in the midday, but also to avoid the long tourist lines. That was key advice. We booked the first tours at the Vatican and the Colosseum, and the lines were not bad for us at all. But by the time we were done our tours, the lines were crazy. So it's very low humidity somehow, so you don't sweat much. No, Mr. Voorhees, when you're in the blazing sun and it's 95 degrees and you're standing like in the middle of like the Colosseum with no shade and you're just baking and all of the masonry is just exuding this heat, the cobblestone streets, the lack of breezes when you're in the middle of a metropolitan city like that, I was sweating. Humidity or no humidity, it was friggin' hot. Bish says Carrie had humidities in Rome. Yes, I did. Absolutely. So the trip was great. I'll show you guys some pictures and kind of get this out of the way so we could talk about the podcast because we haven't recapped the podcast in a while. This is just a greatest hits all in one slide of my trip to Rome. There is a whole gallery on my Facebook page and there's still some pictures that I'm still going through. I literally took, I think, 2,500 pictures when I was in Rome. It was kind of insane. So just kind of going around. Up here in the corner is my first morning in Rome, eating like my first fresh pastry at the cafe. My cooking class is here, making pasta, which is here. That's the pasta I learned how to make, fettuccine with marinara, like bolognese sauce, and fresh raviolis with a butter, lemon, and sage sauce, which was delicious. This tiramisu right here, I made delicioso. I was not prepared, and the backstage pass holders, we talked a little bit about it. I was not prepared for how much I would love the little cars all over Rome. This is a twisty. It's a one-person car. It's a gas-powered car, but it's a car for one person. One wheel in the front, two wheels in the back. Smart cars everywhere, Fiats, just all of these little itty-bitty cars that I want one just to have. There's like a toy. I was not prepared for all the dicks. There were a lot of dicks. No, I did not buy a limoncello-filled dick. I regret not buying it now. They were everywhere in all the tourist shops. I thought they were ridiculous. Now I wish I bought one. But there was dicks everywhere on mugs, like the David statue. His dick was on everything, like mugs, T-shirts. Like it's got to be the most famous dick in Rome, I would think. This is the Pantheon, which is just amazing. This is the Mouth of Truth, where you reportedly put your mouth in there, and if you're a liar, you put your hand in the mouth, and if you're a liar, you don't get your hand back. So we had to go and do that, which is in the same church as the skull of Saint Valentine, which is right here. This is me at the Aventine keyhole, which you can look up. It's basically this giant set of doors, and you look through the keyhole, and if you can get your camera to focus, it's right, here. Let me move my finger here. You see the basilica through the keyhole, which is really cool. I found an underground metal club called the Full Moon Club that is in Rome. It's like a speakeasy. It's a private members only club. So you have to kind of find it, a nondescript door, ring the doorbell. They open up the slot. They look at you. If you look like a metalhead that you belong, they let you in. They take your ID. You get a lifetime membership card, and then you're welcome at the Full Moon Club anytime you want. This is the owner right here. You can find the Full Moon Club in Rome, Italy on Instagram. It's like this underground metal club. I ended up doing shots with this couple from Perth, Australia that were backpacking through Europe, going to metal festivals. So follow them on Instagram. You can find them. Just look on Instagram at Full Moon Club Rome or whatever. You can track them down. Some of the pictures from the Vatican, obviously, like this, which is just a hallway. It's like as long as a football field with just these amazing frescoes. Obviously, that's the Colosseum with the sun blaring in the background. This is me inside the Colosseum, right there. Yes, this is an illegal picture of the Sistine. Wait, let me get my finger up there. That's an illegal picture of the Sistine Chapel right there. Had to do it. The Trevi Fountain up there in the top corner, and the famous Michelangelo statue of Mary and Jesus when he was taken off the cross following his crucifixion, which is one of the most famous sculptures in the world. I got a chance to see it. It is behind glass, so that's why there's reflection, but it was absolutely beautiful. I walked through the holy doors at the Vatican. I missed Pope Leo by a few hours. I was there in the morning. He showed up in the afternoon. Put your mouth where, says Jason? No, you put your hand in the mouth of truth. So this is just a snapshot. I tried to take so many food pictures. I was fascinated by the big doors in Rome. I was fascinated by the little cars. This picture up here, I talked at length about it last night with the backstage pass holders. One of my favorite neighborhoods in Rome was the historic Jewish ghetto. That's what it's called because back in the 1500s, the Pope made all of the Jews in Rome live in one area of the city that was kind of walled off, and they were allowed, certain Jews were allowed to leave during the day for work if it served the Pope, but they all had to be in there at night. And during World War II, obviously, these traditional neighborhoods, a lot like Boston has the Irish neighborhoods and the Italian neighborhoods in Chinatown, the Jewish neighborhood in Rome, the ghetto, is still highly populated by Jewish families. There's a lot of amazing Italian kosher restaurants. My first night in Rome, I ate at a kosher Italian restaurant at this beautiful outdoor cafe, one of the best meals I had. But I made sure that I took these pictures. These brass plaques are in place of cobblestones outside of the doorways of people that were taken from their homes during the Holocaust by the Nazis. And these brass plaques have the people's names, their birthdays, the day that they were taken by the Nazis, and the concentration camps where they died. And what's really gut-wrenching about it is that they're in the cobblestones right outside these people's front doors where they lived. So you're sitting there looking at the door of where these people were taken by the Nazis. And as you read the plaque, as you read the stones, you put together that they were sisters, they were brothers, it was a father and a son, it was a married couple. Really, really powerful. It was one of my favorite neighborhoods in Rome. Absolutely loved it. The history, I'm glad I spent just a whole week just in Rome. People were like, get on the train, go to Pompeii, go to Venice, go to Pisa, do all of these things. We spent an entire week in Rome, and 3 of the days we just wandered around to see what we could find. The rest of the time we had either a cooking class or a Colosseum or the Pantheon or the Vatican. It was just amazing. I loved it. Really, really cool. The artwork, beautiful. The weather was great. It only rained one day while I was there, but it was really hot. So now that I'm back from Rome and it's hot as balls at home, I'm just dying. And then the dead thing today. So if you guys have specific questions, if you're planning on going to Rome and you're asking for advice about restaurants, links to get tours, things that you should see, how to get around, the taxis were great. The taxi app that we downloaded, a lot of the taxi drivers drive taxi and Uber at the same time. So we would order an Uber and a taxi would show up. They also have these Lime scooters that are like the little battery powered scooters, and the assist bikes, like the battery bikes. We downloaded that app. You hook it up to your credit card. You let it have location services, and you just go on there and it shows you where these scooters and bikes are all around the city. You go, you scan a QR code, it activates it. It starts a timer. You ride it wherever you want to go. When you're done with it, you park it, you scan the QR code again, it shuts it off, and you just leave it on the side of the road and someone else picks it up and uses it. They were awesome. They were a blast to do. We saw people that, I guess when the batteries die, they know that the batteries are running low, and then they have people that just drive around the city with battery packs and charge these things back up again. And they're scattered all around Rome. And unlike cities in the United States, people don't abuse them in Rome. Like, that's how a lot of people commute. because it's cheaper than taking taxis. There is public transportation, but it was so packed, the buses, the trains, because of the Jubilee and the Youth Jubilee, that a lot of people that worked in Rome, even Mia, who was my instructor that you see me up there in my pasta making class, I was actually making tiramisu in that picture with the apron. She told us when she got there that she actually commuted to the restaurant that morning on a Lime scooter because it's just the fastest and cheapest way to get around in the city, which it was kind of cool. So wouldn't want to drive one of those on Route 128. You'd never be seen again, says Voorhees. Look, I understand that these are not practical vehicles for New England, especially in the winter, but they are unbelievably practical in Rome. And there was one car in particular that was so small that you could park it perpendicular to the curb. And it was just as long as the parking spot was wide if you were going to park parallel to the curb. So like there were so many of these little cars, and people, it really does alleviate a lot of the parking problems in a city like Rome where they don't get snow. Obviously, I understand the weather challenges in Boston. But even navigating like the pretty rough Roman like cobblestone roads, those cars were awesome. My husband rolled his eyes every time I told him that I wanted one of those cars, but they were so friggin' cute. They just looked like little toys that people were driving around. Sarah says, unfathomable. Thanks for highlighting this history, talking about the Jewish ghetto. You're very welcome. Let's see. Ayla has a bike like that. People were riding them all around, and they have these little bells on them. And then a lot of people, because it's Rome and it's Europe, there's a lot of people riding Vespas around as well. So there's bike lanes for bicycles, and the drivers are so used to Vespas and the tourists being on these scooters and bicycles that I really didn't feel unsafe riding those scooters around, even though in Boston I totally would, because we have not in America kind of, in at least in the older cities in the Northeast, kind of opened up to the idea of like bikes and alternative means of transportation rather than cars. But in Rome, they're everywhere. And it was really awesome to just find a scooter, pick it up, ride it for say 2 miles, park it, walk away from it. You don't have to worry about where you're going to put it. You just put it on the side of the road or on the sidewalk, scan the code, walk away from it. It was really, really cool. Eric said, I took some time off work last week and took my dad to Seattle to go see Lady Gaga's Mayhem Ball. She says it's a rock opera. It's more of heavy metal. And Mike Inez was in the audience a few rows in front of us. He did not move and his mouth dropped like 5 times. Lady Gaga, she paid tribute to Ozzy, by the way, at that concert. Like the day that Ozzy died. Lady Gaga, in a lot of ways, is a rock star. She loves rock music and knows a lot about it. So it doesn't surprise me. Thomas wants to know, are there any Harleys? We did see a few. The Harleys you could see coming, I think because of the imports and just how hard it is to get them. And also I think Harleys guzzle more gas than say Vespas and some European motorcycles that are a little bit better on gas. We didn't see a ton of Harleys, but they were there. We did see motorcycles. We saw Triumphs, obviously, some Ducatis, obviously. But we saw a ton of Vespas. Like they're literally everywhere. Between the Vespas, the little scooters, the bicycles, these little itty bitty cars, the roads in Rome are nuts with just all of these little vehicles kind of bipping everywhere. Boston and Worcester, both in the top 5 most dangerous driving cities. That wouldn't surprise me. It's nice that they still have Vespas. Do they have electric bikes too? Yeah, those are those bike assists I'm talking about, John. The electric bicycles that, those are kind of everywhere. And there's 2 different apps. We used Lime, but there's 2 different apps that are competing. The Lime bikes were green. The other ones, I forget what they were called. They were like Rome or something, ROAM. They were blue. But people use those battery powered bikes and scooters like everywhere. How many Lamborghinis and Ferraris did you see? I did not see a Lambo. I was really bummed out. I did see, I think, 1 Ferrari. couple Ducatis. There were not a lot of sports cars in downtown Rome. I think if we had ventured out onto some of the long stretches of highways, especially the scenic routes up the coast, I think I would have seen a lot more of those cars. But we did not rent a car. We focused our entire trip just on downtown Rome, on the actual city, because there's so much to see. So I think if we had ventured out a little bit more, we would have seen more of that stuff. Let's see. Thomas said, I saw one Harley in Ireland. Yeah, they're not common, but you hear them coming for sure. I think there's also some stricter emissions and noise restrictions. So like you're definitely not having like full open pipes riding through Rome, because I think you'd get pulled over right away and ticketed pretty significantly. And for expats, like you have to prove citizenship to be able to buy a vehicle, get it insured, and to get your license. Like you can get a international driver's license, which we didn't feel like we needed to get because we just used those scooters and took Ubers most of the time. But we did look up how much like those little cars were. Like you could get like a used smart car for like €2,200. Gas was like $1.50 a liter or $1.30 a liter. So I think when I took pictures of the gas stations, people were like, look at how cheap it is. No, that's a liter, not a gallon. So the gas prices were pretty comparable, but like a smart car probably gets 60 to 80 miles to the gallon. And if you're just driving it 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 miles a day around Rome, it's a really affordable means of transportation to have one of those little cars. And you could get a used one for like €2,500 or something like that, which was kind of hilarious. Supercars massively taxed in Europe because of their fuel economy or lack thereof. Exactly. They incentivize you saving fuel with these other alternate form of transportation, and they're fun. And let me tell you, like, can you imagine a city like Boston? I understand weather and all of that, but can you imagine how many more parking spaces there would be if people drove like smaller cars like they do in Rome? There would be a lot more available parking because American cars are so much bigger. So I did see the charm in it. I mean, the woman driving the Twisty, she parked. You can see her. She was backing out of a parking spot where she parked perpendicular to the curb. That thing is just as wide as a parallel parking spot. I also watched this woman make a 5-point turn to get out of that parking spot in a fucking one person car. I stood there and watched her because I was in awe that it took her that much to back out of it. So, what was the biggest thing that surprised you about Rome? There were a couple of things that surprised me. The dicks being everywhere surprised me because it's like the home of Catholicism during the Jubilee, and there were penises everywhere. There was a lot more graffiti in the city than I was prepared for. A lot of it was art, like spray painted murals. A lot of it was political in nature. The Europeans are having this influx of tourism, especially Rome this year because of the Jubilee. I think a lot of international tourists saved their money during COVID and are now flooding European cities. Our tour guide at the Vatican told us that last year the Vatican had 37,000 tourists a day go through the Vatican. They have now capped Vatican tourism at 20,000 a day, and it still feels crowded, which is why you've got to book tours. Because if you try to go there and just get in on your own, if they're maxed out on tours for the day, you're not getting in because they've capped tourism. The Colosseum allows 3,000 tourists at a time in the Colosseum. And when you go in groups in tours, they time you. And you're given X amount of time before that tour guide, which you have to have a license to be a tour guide because you have to pass the test that you know what the hell you're talking about. That you only get so much time inside the Colosseum before you have to leave. And so they are starting to crack down on the tourism. So there is some backlash. So I think the scooters and the cars, all of the little battery powered ways to get around the city surprised me. The dicks surprised me. The graffiti definitely surprised me. The closer you got into the city, The more touristy the areas, the more people spoke English. The apartment that we stayed in, which is a friend of a friend, was like staying in the equivalent of like Waltham to like downtown Boston. So it was like 3 miles outside of the city. The further we got closer to the apartment in the little shops, the less people spoke Italian. I did notice that downloading a translation app and attempting, even poorly, to speak Italian, people were so much, they just appreciated that you tried. Even if you butchered Italian, they appreciated that you tried. What would you consider to be the best architectural structure that you saw? Architecturally, the Pantheon. It doesn't make sense how that thing is still standing. It's this giant concrete dome, and that is a hole that's open to the sky. So like it rains inside the Pantheon. Architecturally, it doesn't make any sense. But like the Colosseum has been there forever. They're trying to restore it. They talk all about how the ruins were discovered. Art-wise, the Vatican, 100%. The Trevi Fountain, it was so funny. The Trevi Fountain has like lifeguards that just blow whistles to tell people not to sit on the fountain all day, every day. There's benches around the lower level of the fountain, and then there's like stairs and different railing levels, but you just hear whistles all the time. And one of the guys that works at the Trevi Fountain did not speak English at all. One of the other guys was blowing his whistle at me, and I was like, what did I do? I'm not doing anything wrong. And he called me over and was translating for the other guy. He wanted to know how I got my hair so purple, which was hilarious. There were very few purple-haired people in Rome, by the way. Did I learn to speak Italian? I fumbled my way through it. So, there was the grazia, ciao, bellissima, perfetto. I learned probably 12 phrases, delicioso. Those things, after a few days, I started dreaming in Italian, which was really weird. Not that I spoke Italian, but that I was dreaming in Italy, like where everyone around me was speaking Italian, which was really unexpected for me. But I tried really hard to at least attempt. I would put an American phrase or an English phrase into the translator, and it would put it on your screen in Italian for you to try and read and butcher, or you could hit the speaker thing and it would say it for you. So there were times where I tried to speak it myself and I would apologize for not speaking good Italian. Other times I would just hit it and it would speak for me. And then you could hit the microphone and someone could speak Italian into it and it would translate it into English for you. That app, which I think it was the Google Translate app, was free and super convenient. Had access to my phone pretty much the whole time. The international plan on my plan was like $12 a day. But be prepared that in some of these buildings, your phone's just not going to work because the walls are so thick, like 4-foot thick ceilings and floors and walls. But it was great. We had a great time. The food was amazing, as you would expect. So I'm happy to answer more of your questions if you got them, but I don't want to bore you guys with my vacation because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So I want to remind you, or anybody that doesn't know, where you can find me on the radio. You can hear me every midday weekday, so that's 10 to 3, Monday through Friday on Charleston's Best Rock, 98 Rock. Download the 98 Rock app. You can stream the show that way from anywhere, or just go to my98rock.com. I apologize that the banner is kind of making it a little hard to read some of these captions. Oh. There we go. You can hear me every weekday afternoon on 100 FM The Pike in Worcester, Massachusetts. And Rockfest is coming up September 6th at Indian Ranch in Webster. You can also hear me every weekday afternoon on 106.3 The Bone in Portland, Maine. And you can hear me online at 1063thebone.com. You can download the Bone app. And most recently, as of this past Valentine's Day, you can hear Mornings with Mistress Carrie, 6 to 10 a.m. on everything that rocks, 99.3 and 98.5 Laser in Springfield. Let's see. Voorhees says the Pantheon is still the largest non-reinforced concrete dome on the planet. It's almost 1,500 years old. That's what I'm saying. Like, you walk in there and you stand under it and you're like, how did they, if they tried to build it with modern technology, it would be impressive. But they built it 1,500 years ago without modern technology, and it's still there, and it's gorgeous. So definitely go there. So you can hear me all over the place. Want to remind you guys that a Mistress Carrie deal is available in Western Massachusetts. You can get your laser wine passport and get $150 in value from 3 local vineyards in Western Mass for just $75. And you can go to the laser website, laser993.com, to get that. Want to remind you that I am going to be at the Johnny Appleseed Festival in downtown Leominster, Massachusetts on September 20th with a big Mistress Carrie booth set up for that. And those details are on the concert and event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. We have to recap the podcast, which is something we have not done in a few weeks. So episode 268, which we announced, that was the last time we got together in the war room. Obviously, I know we're in MCHQ tonight. Episode 268 was tour rehearsals for the Shinedown Dance Kid Dance Tour. The show is amazing. I took the Wolfpack, my husband, and the kids to the TD Garden show. It was absolutely awesome. Got to spend time with all of the guys at the show. The show was amazing. Bush was great. Morgan Wade was awesome. So you can hear questions answered from Brent Smith on episode 268 about the new single Killing Fields that literally came out the day I sat down with Brent, about when the new album is going to be announced, about when the new album is coming out. We talked about a lot of stuff. So Brent Smith on episode 268, Richard Patrick from Filter talking about the Algorithm, the Ultra Edition reissue that came out last Friday on episode 269. We also talked about why he dropped off of the Jerry Cantrell solo tour, because he had a disc replaced in his back, and his recovery he's recovering, but he's not recovering as quickly as he would like, so he had to drop off the Cantrell tour, but he is planning on putting Filter back out on the road in 2026. And then a delayed by a few days episode 270, Dennis Dunaway from the original Alice Cooper band, talking about their first album in 50 years, The Revenge of Alice Cooper, talking about getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011. That episode came out this past weekend, delayed a few days because I had to get back from Rome and get the episode uploaded. So all of these episodes are available right now wherever you listen to your podcasts. And back on schedule as of midnight tonight, episode 271 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, Matt Bigland, who is right here from Dinosaur Pileup, is my guest. Now, if you saw The Offspring or Shinedown on tour back in like 2018 and 2019, you saw Dinosaur Pileup opening up. You heard the song Backfoot on, I played the hell out of it on AAF. You heard it on rock stations around the country. And then right around the time that AAF got sold and COVID hit, these guys kind of disappeared. And they were such nice guys. They came up and played acoustic on my show at AAF in 2019 before the station got sold. And I, as a fan, was like, what happened to these guys? They weren't active on social media. Well, come to find out, Matt Bigland, right around the time that COVID hit, he had been struggling with his health while he was touring, but he didn't know what was going on. And he then got diagnosed with Crohn's and was under treatments with steroids and stuff for Crohn's. Then he kept getting sicker and they didn't know what was wrong. And he went months of steroid treatments and tests. And he finally got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and was immunocompromised all through COVID and was basically in solitary at home by himself. He almost died. He also carried on a virtual relationship with a girl named Karen, or a woman he calls Kay, because she lived, I believe, in Brazil. And they went almost a year with just seeing each other on FaceTime. He documents all of this on some Instagram videos on his personal Instagram, with a ton of pictures to show you exactly how sick he really got, how much time. He was in the hospital for over a month. They told him during COVID, you'll die if you get COVID. You are so immunocompromised. Then they completely suppressed and killed his immune system to reboot it, so he was not allowed to go outside. And all the while, fans were wondering, where's Dinosaur Pileup? He has since found a treatment regimen that has helped. The band is getting ready on the 22nd to release their new album, I've Felt Better, which is named after the answer that he gave to people when they asked about his medical struggles. And he talks all about it very openly on this week's episode of the podcast. We talked a lot about it because of the emotional strains of struggling with a medical issue that was undiagnosable for a while, and also the isolation that he wasn't just isolating because there was a lockdown. He was isolating because the doctors told him, you have no immune system. If you get COVID, it's going to kill you. He's since married Kay, spoiler alert, and they're just ridiculously happy together, and the band's going out on the road with A Day to Remember. And so this is a really, really amazing story of struggle and overcoming struggle. I just love Matt Bigland from Dinosaur Pileup. He's just such a cool guy, and I'm really excited to talk about this. Does Richard Patrick mention Ozzy? Yes, because the Richard Patrick interview was supposed to happen literally 5 minutes after they announced that Ozzy had passed away. So the interview got postponed because I was on multiple radio stations focusing on Ozzy's passing. So not only does Richard Patrick address Ozzy's passing, but Matt Bigland, because he's British, also talks about Ozzy's passing as well. Michael Cole said, saw Mike shoot tonight at Polar Park for the Firehouse Cook-Off. Delicious. 8 fire stations, retired guys doing the competition. They can cook. As somebody that grew up in a firefighting household, oh, I know. Steve says Dinosaur Pileup is great. They are absolutely great. I think you guys are going to love this episode. Did you hear that an Ozzy movie is already in the works, but Sharon is pissed that people are using AI to create clickbait Ozzy articles, but the movie is the real deal? Yeah, so that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about in the music headlines. So let me just get through this stuff. So podcast, this episode right here is out at midnight tonight. Subscribe to the podcast. And not only do you get the weekly episodes and the bonus episodes, but you get the sit rep, which comes out every weekday. It's 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes long of all of your rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates. Where can you subscribe to the podcast? The short answer, everywhere. All of the big podcast apps. You can listen to it through the Pantheon Podcast Network. The audio is up on my Mistress Carrie YouTube channel, or you can just go to mistresscarrie.com, go to the podcast page, pick the episode you want to listen to, and click play. Holding strong at 149 countries still. Yes, Italy is on the most listened to. Hold on. Everything is backwards. God damn it. Countries. Fuck it. And it did get some new subscribers because I was at the Full Moon Club, that underground metal bar, and all of the people that were there said they were going to subscribe to the podcast. If you're celebrating your birthday today on August 12th, you're sharing it with Pat Metheny, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Mark Knopfler, Buck Owens, and Motorhead released their debut album on August 12th, 1977. So happy birthday to Motorhead. Let's give away some tickets before we get to music headlines. So if you are in the greater New England area and you want to go and see VOLBEAT on the Greatest of All Tours tour with HALESTORM and the Ghost Inside this Thursday night at the Xfinity Center, all you got to do is go to mistresscarrie.com, click the Message the Studio button, and write VOLBEAT in the subject line, and let me have your full name and email address, and I will hook you up, as many people as I can, first come, first serve, with a pair of free tickets while supplies last. One lucky ticket winner is also going to get VIP meet and greet before the show with HALESTORM. This is going to be given away tonight. If you win the VIP meet and greet, it's happening around 4 o'clock at the Xfinity Center on Thursday. You will be contacted directly by the VIP meet and greet, probably tomorrow. I'm going to give them your contact information. So if you want these VOLBEAT and HALESTORM tickets, go to mistresscarrie.com right now, first come, first serve. Click the Message the Studio button, write VOLBEAT in the subject line, give me your full name, your email address, and your cell phone number. One lucky ticket winner is going to get the VIP meet and greet on top of a pair of tickets, and these tickets will be sent out tonight. You are going to get them via email. The email is going to come from Ticketmaster and Live Nation, not from me. And I do have a good amount of tickets to give away. So if you want to go, I would like to send you. Membership has its privileges hanging out here in the War Room. All right. Let's go through some of the music headlines. The Ozzy movie you're talking about is so before Ozzy fell and really started struggling with Parkinson's, the plan was for the Osbournes to move back to England. They partnered with the BBC, and they were going to make a reality show about them moving and retrofitting the family house in Buckinghamshire, England. And the show, which was going to be a multi-episode reality show, was going to be called Home to Roost. So the BBC has been following Ozzy and Sharon around in preparation for them to move back to England. Obviously, things changed as Ozzy's health deteriorated, and as it became more and more apparent that Ozzy was not going to be able to tour. That documentary debuts on the BBC this weekend. So that's one thing. There's a biopic about Ozzy and Sharon that they announced back in 2021 that is being written, and they're looking for the director and the actors that are going to tell Ozzy and Sharon's love story from the time when Sharon met Ozzy and her dad was managing Earth and then Black Sabbath, all the way through Ozzy's entire life. That movie is going to end up, I believe, in theaters, but they haven't announced who's playing Ozzy and Sharon, when it's going to come out, all of that. Then there's the Ozzy documentary about him getting diagnosed with Parkinson's, him putting the whole back to the beginning show together. That documentary is going to debut later this year. So it's actually 3 Ozzy projects. The Home to Roost BBC show that is now a documentary that debuts this weekend, the biopic, and then the documentary that interviewed everybody from Billy Morrison and everybody else about Ozzy's Parkinson's diagnosis and all of that. And then Ozzy's also got his book, Last Rites, that his second memoir that is going to tackle his diagnosis and all of that comes out later this year that he announced before he died. There's a lot of Ozzy stuff going on. Bish says, my birthday is next weekend, the big 4-0. Happy on vacation somewhere on birthday, Keith. Yes, I'm sorry. Happy on birthday, Keith. Cheers to you on vacation. I apologize for skipping over the unbirthday. So that's what's going on with Ozzy. Also want to call attention to Joe Perry announcing yesterday that Eric Kretz, the drummer from Stone Temple Pilots, had a family emergency and he is dropped off of all of the Joe Perry Project shows. The Joe Perry Project old drummer is going to come back and play, but Robert DeLeo is still playing bass for Joe Perry from Stone Temple Pilots, and Chris Robinson is still singing. Brad Whitford and Buck Johnson from Aerosmith are still part of the Joe Perry Project as well. Tom Miller says, Buckinghamshire governor. He said he wants Denzel Washington to play him. That's pretty hilarious. So, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then obviously the Scorpions movie is, they've already released the trailer, which you can watch online right now. So lots going on with that. There are a ton of shows. Stevie Nicks is at the TD Garden tonight. 9 Inch Nails will be there at the end of the month. Eric Clapton and Bryan Adams are there. Coming up at the DCU Center, Sleep Token on the 23rd of September, the Silver Scream Con whole weekend convention, and then, of course, the massive concert that's happening this Saturday night in the arena with Dayseeker and A Loss for Words and The Funeral Portrait and Mest. Those tickets are on sale now. Big Night Live has got From Ashes to New, Magnolia Park. That's on November 5th. And Everclear, the Sparkle and Fade 30th anniversary tour with Local H and Sponge is on October 21st. The Volbeat, Halestorm, and the Ghost Inside show at the Xfinity Center on Thursday. The Doobie Brothers will be there the next night. Billy Idol and Joan Jett on the 23rd. Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace. Falling in Reverse. Papa Roach and Rise Again. So still a lot of outdoor shows at the Xfinity Center coming up. David Lee Roth at the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom on Wednesday night. Celierna's solo tour on September 6th at Mohegan. By the way, former Godsmack drummer Shannon Larkin is playing drums on the upcoming Ugly Kid Joe album. That got announced today. George Thorogood is going to be at the Lynn Auditorium. Brian Adams at Mohegan. Lemonheads at the Wilbur. Hart at the SNHU Arena and the Toyota Oakdale Theater. The concert season, we're like in the thick of it right now. No more big rock shows at the Leader Bank Pavilion, however, for the rest of the season. The Fenway concert season has got My Chemical Romance on September 7th with Idols, the Lumineers. That already happened, so I'll take that off of there. And The Who, August 26th at Fenway with the Joe Perry Project. Did the Foo Fighters get a new drummer? Yes. The Foo Fighters got the old Nine Inch Nails drummer, and the old Foo Fighters drummer, Josh Freese, went back to drumming for Nine Inch Nails, where he was until 2008. So yeah, the Foos have a new drummer. Let's see. Joe Perry still playing at Fenway. They were going to open up for the Who. Yes, Karen. Joe Perry still is. It's just Eric Kretz, the drummer from STP, that's not playing with the Joe Perry Project. Just popped in to say hi, Mistress Carrie, says Jeff on Facebook. One of those days, your voice always helps me find peace. I appreciate it. Jeff, actually, that's one of the things that I talked to Matt about from Dinosaur Pileup on this week's episode about finding a balance between being a place of refuge for you guys that are having a hard day and also being someone that still needs to talk about hard things in the world too. So I appreciate you coming to me when you have a hard day. Make sure you're listening to listen to this episode 271 of the podcast this week. I think you're really going to like it. Mr. Cole says drink social, no booze tonight. I was dealing with the dead things. Not to mention the new Taylor Swift album, says Jackie. Talk about taking over the news cycle in one fell swoop. Jesus. In This Moment's going to be at the Palladium coming up on the 14th. Mushroom Head, Guar, Atreyu. Let's see, Poppy, the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival. There's a lot still happening at the Palladium. And Roadrunner has got Garbage coming up next month on the 8th. The Black Keys are going to be at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway this weekend. Chevelle will be there on the 24th. Alabama Shakes in September. Seether, Daughtry, and POD in October. Mudvayne and Static X in October. Cage the Elephant the night before Halloween. House of Blues has got Architects this weekend. Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden on September 11th. Avatar, November 26th. And Nothing More all the way off on February 20th. Paradise Rock Club, I will get you some more listings on that. City Winery Boston has got Cold coming up on October 27th. The Stage at Suffolk Downs on September 6th and 7th has got the Irish Music Culture and Gathering Festival session with the Dropkick Murphys and the Pogues. And new releases coming out this Friday include Chevelle, Bright as Blasphemy, The Cranberries, No Need to Argue, the 30th Anniversary Edition, Deep Purple's Made in Japan, the Super Deluxe Edition, The Pretenders, the Singles Reissue, Ricochet from Rise Against, and Balance, the Expanded Edition from Van Halen. And I also should say Happy Vinyl Day today. Mail call. Okay. So first of all, I am a terrible person because I left the mail call stuff upstairs. Carol sent me this amazing package with some of her pistachio biscottis. Denise and Carol, I need to tell you guys, I went to Rome. You guys know this. You saw the pictures. I ate pastries. I ate street food. I ate amazing pasta dishes. I ate tiramisu. I ate everything. I did not have a better biscotti than Carol's pistachio biscottis and Denise's anise toast. Ladies, I tried them. They weren't as good as yours. I'm telling you, they're delicious. Carol sent me not only an amazing package of biscottis when I got back, but she also got me a skull from my skull collection of a skull wearing headphones, which I put upstairs on the table in the war room to do mail call tonight. And then we ended up encountering the dead things and thus I am here in MCHQ. So I will show you the skull that Carol got me next week. But I apologize for not having it. So Carol, thank you for the skull and the biscottis. And Denise, the anise toast. Carol, your biscottis, they are still goat. Trust me, I tried. I would have told you if I found a better one. I did have more pastries and tiramisu, but I did have biscottis. I did not have cannolis because I was eating so much other stuff. I ate a lot, like I ate so much pasta, and I refuse to apologize for it. So, let's see. Mark Strait said the war room started in the hardest of times, giving hope and peace to so many, continues to provide all of the above. Thank you. Let's see. DFB Merch Official on Instagram says, I was telling my girlfriend about when I was a teenager and I would stay up until midnight to watch Real Rock TV on the Spanish channel. We were viral before we were viral, for sure. Denise says, I will let my mom know. She will giggle. I'm telling you. And Carol says, thank you. Guys, your biscottis, I freeze them. I ration them so I can have one with a coffee in the morning. They make me so happy. What's up, Christine on YouTube? Mr. Cole says, I have to get on that delivery schedule. Brett says, have you used the anise liquor yet? I have not. I'm saving it. I feel like I know when is going to be the right time to use it, but I have not used it yet. So thank you, Brett. I'm cutting out, says Carol. Anyone else having video issues, says Eric. I wonder what's going on. I'm in MCHQ. I can't be more hardwired in than this. Keep losing connection, says Jonathan. What the fuck? I want to let you guys know that there's some new merch coming. Bish, your reflective beanies are coming. I've been working with T-Shirt Brian. They are coming. Also, new helmet stickers and Property of Mistress Carrie stickers are on the way. They have been ordered. If you do not have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass yet, I met with the Backstage Pass holders last night and told them about some other merch that I'm working on. You also find out who's going to be on the podcast. You get travel blog updates. You get exclusive live streams, early access to event info, and exclusive ticket giveaways, including VOLBEAT tickets and Papa Roach and Rise Against tickets. So if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, just go into your Pantheon account, send me a message. You guys know how to get tickets. If you don't have a Backstage Pass, go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie and or just hit the Patreon logo at mistresscarrie.com. It's freezing and the sound is going in and out. Liquor, she said, but I hardly knew her. Group open to the public to share information on resources, veteran-owned businesses, veteran nonprofits, volunteer opportunities, all of that stuff. Just go to facebook.com. It's the Mistress Carrie Veterans Rock Group. Yes, Jackie, Papa Roach tickets if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. Eric says it's the heat wave. My house in Chicago, the cable company keeps on messaging me saying the heat wave is making the Wi-Fi and the TVs go wonky. There you go. All right, guys. I apologize that we're in MCHQ tonight. This is the Dead Thing episode. We'll be back in the War Room next week. Brand new episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast. I'll be a guest on episode 271. And that's it, guys. I'll tell Friday and Wednesday that you guys send their love. And I may be going on a quick trip this weekend. So Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass holders, I'm taking you guys on the road again. Otherwise, just keep your eyes on the socials. All right, guys. Good night.